Hello, I'm Greg Mosley from HudsonValleyBoats.com, and welcome to this interview of mayoral candidates. The format will be 10 questions given in the same order to each participant. Both mayoral candidates have been invited to participate. And now I'll interview with the current mayor and candidate for re-election, the Honorable William Hallenbeck, Jr. Mr. Mayor, what will be your priorities if re-elected?
Thank you, Greg, and good afternoon to the residents of the City of Hudson. My priorities of being mayor has always been to relieve the tax burden on the taxpayers of the City of Hudson, provided that with a 0% tax increase in 2013. The priorities of the mayor's office should be that open government is transparent and that anyone in the City of Hudson can reach out to me for any concerns they have. We've had concerns of, at times, of quality of life that we've addressed. We've maintained that our business district in the City of Hudson should be inclusive to the entire Warren Street area from Worth Avenue to Front Street. We've provided lights in the area of 7th Street to Worth Avenue. We need to continue our development within the city and at our waterfront. And one of the biggest priorities, I think, for the next mayor is going to be the parking issue in the City of Hudson. Right now, we obviously have a parking issue with everything that's been going on in the City of Hudson and the amount of moving forward that we've done. One of the things that I'll propose, should I be mayor, is to provide the City of Hudson with a 4-tier parking garage, hopefully and possibly in the municipal lot behind City Hall. We have a consideration right now of Marina Abramovich Arts Center, which is going to bring an influx of more cars to the area. And we also have to be cognizant of the fact that the New York State Governor has on this year's vote a consideration for 7 casinos in a voting referendum on this year's ballot, and has named 7 places, Catskill being included, which would bring even more traffic to the area in a few years.
Okay. How would you solve the issues and the challenges of small cities?
Greg, that's another fantastic question. The issues that we face and a lot of small cities face are, again, quality of life issues by our residents who deserve our services to be top-notched. With that said, we see that housing and affordable housing has and continues to be an issue. We address the conditions of some of the housing that exists within the City of Hudson, being as small as we are, not only from providing and making sure that landlords provide houses that are fit for human habitation, that those who have those houses that have been left dilapidated and would otherwise just stay there as eyesores to our community, that we consider doing like we did on Spring Street with a building that was not only unsafe, but that was just left to become in the condition it became. We tore that down, not only to beautify that area, but for the purpose of providing something better in that area in the future.
Okay. In every election, it seems the issue of the waterfront comes up. What are your plans for the waterfront?
Greg, my plans for the waterfront, as I said 2 years ago when I ran, has always been that we should and have been environmentally friendly at our waterfront. It is a place that everyone should have the opportunity to enjoy and attend the vast amount of activities we have there. At the same time, the time is now for the council, the executive and legislative branch to work together in providing development at the waterfront. My plan would be to try to develop in the short term. Development in 3 acres, the 3 acres that the Dunn's building sits on now, in the immediate future, be it restaurants and or hotel in that area. Provide development on that 3 acres and do that expeditiously. That's why in the budget of last year I put an anticipated revenue, $300,000, including the Dunn's building, for the purpose of selling the building for development, to which the council has taken a step back and said, listen, not so fast, for historical purposes, which I believe the city should move cautiously on. But we should now, and now is the time, to develop at our waterfront, starting with that 3 acres.
Okay. How would you address the issue of gentrification and diversity throughout the city?
Greg, when it comes to diversity, I believe we're the most diverse culture this city has in New York State. I believe that we address any concern and become part of, at least we have under my administration, part of the families of the diverse cultures that we have here. I'm not a fan nor approve of gentrification. As small cities like the city of Hudson begin to provide what we have in way of bringing in people to our city who are doing fantastic work in our business district and buying homes, affordable housing becomes questionable. And I have always said, and will continue to abide by the fact that the city of Hudson has done their due diligence and continues to do due diligence to provide affordable housing for our residents. We have the Hudson Terrace Apartments, which we just entered into a 30-year lease with about a year and a half ago. Hudson Terrace Apartments, which has been there since the urban renewal days. Bliss Towers, Crosswinds, a new housing facility of affordable housing. And I have to also say that the fantastic work that the Habitat for Humanity has provided in way of affordable housing and making those who might otherwise not be able to realize the American dream of owning a home, they've done that. And the city of Hudson has always backed their efforts, and I'll continue to do that.
Okay, thank you. How would you, oftentimes people talked about the issue of government being too big, too many elected officials. What's your ideas on the size of the number of elected officials throughout the city of Hudson?
Greg, when it comes to downsizing government, I've treaded very lightly on this issue for 2 reasons. Number one, do I believe that 2 aldermen in each ward is excessive? Do I believe that we need 2 aldermen in each ward? The answer is no. Do I believe that we need 1 supervisor in each ward? The answer is yes, and for this reason. I believe that the city of Hudson needs to be represented on the county level by supervisors to the best of the city's ability. And for the purpose of having 5 wards in the city of Hudson and being as culturally diverse as we are, and the makeup of each ward in our city being so vast, I believe that it's important that each ward has a full representation on the county board of supervisors. But when it comes to aldermen, I believe that we could downsize and have 1 alderman per ward. And I would consider providing a committee for charter revision in this area. But more importantly, I think it's important that this consideration of a mayor, treasurer, and common council president having a 4-year term versus a 2-year term is equally important, and the city should consider a public referendum on that consideration.
Okay. How would you address the issue of housing? The issues with deplorable housing, code violations, things of that nature, and a lack of affordable housing throughout the city?
Well, again, I think the city has done its due diligence in providing affordable housing. I believe that, and stated 2 years ago, that the city of Hudson and the council should consider the potential for rental caps as our rents escalate with the progress the city of Hudson has made. We in City Hall, and I and my administration, make sure that our services are out there inspecting and making sure that our properties are safe for those who are renting them. 2 years ago, I mentioned a rental inspection law that I've asked the council to consider. And at this point, we've provided those residents from a safety standpoint with a multiple dwelling rental property registration, local law number 6, where landlords have to register with code enforcement and re-register if in fact anything within that housing complex or multiple dwelling changes. They have to register, and so that the City of Hudson makes sure that smoke detectors and anything, fire extinguishers and any safety matters within our buildings and our rental properties in the City of Hudson are met. And I would continue to pursue that endeavor to make our housing not only affordable, but safe for all residents.
Okay, thank you. Just for the viewers out there, if you hear some noises in the background, understand that we are live, we are unedited, so little disturbances may come about, but just bear with us as we try to portray a fair and equitable interviews of both candidates. So we will not edit, and this is live, and I thank you for your patience. Mr. Mayor, what area of the city budget would you seek to increase, and what areas of the budget would you seek to decrease?
Well, one of the areas of the budget that I always try to increase is our youth budget. For obvious reasons, our youth are our future, and it's important that we maintain the financial stability for the youth department that we most definitely have to sustain. And when it comes to, for example, any waste that we feel could go to other departments and any cuts that we could make. One of the deepest cuts that were made was to the City of Hudson Police Department in certain areas. It was one of the highest departments when it comes to our budget, and it took up 1/3 of our budget. And one of the things that was mentioned to me when I became mayor from previous mayors is that the City of Hudson had, in the past, kicked the can down the road and it couldn't be kicked anymore. And one of the ways of providing the 0% tax increase that was provided was to take a look at each department and cut that cost that was unnecessary. And we did that without cutting services. And I would provide more substance and increase the budget to the youth department for the purpose of the seniors, who will be having a new senior center shortly at the Armory on State Street. Something that we have to be cognizant of, and we have to realize the fact that things are looking up in the youth department and with our seniors, and that doesn't come without a cost.
Okay. You mentioned briefly, you mentioned the police department. My next question is, how would you seek to improve the police department if you feel necessary, that improvement is necessary at all?
You know, that's these are great questions, Greg. And when it comes to the police department, being a past police officer for 21 years, I appreciate past administrations of the police department. I appreciate past officers of our police department here in the City of Hudson. One of the things that was brought to my attention was the fact that the police department was too expensive, number one. That services may not have been being met like we anticipated or expected them to be met. And when it comes to the police department, it's one of the, when you're talking about public safety, it's one of the most important departments to make sure morale is high and that leadership is second to none. To reduce the cost of the police department, I offered an incentive to the 3 top positions of chief of police and 2 lieutenants. Chief of Police Richardson and Lieutenant Polino took those incentives, and we were able to save money in that respect. We then went out and hired, with the help of Police Commissioner Graziano, Chief Edward Moore, who was a 33-year veteran of the state police. Mr. Moore brings with him the experience of dealing with morale issues, the experience of community policing and dealing with people of small cities, this one to which he grew up in years ago. And he also brought the experience of not only renovating the Loudonville State Police Barracks, but had a huge hand in the development and building of the Livingston Barracks in Livingston. And with our consideration right now of providing the police in court, with a new police in court, we thought that he was the best choice. And I can tell you that I've heard nothing but praise and positive accolades for the police department since our decisions to do those things.
Okay. One of the issues and always comes up, or big issue of concern, is the youth of the city. We know that the youth of the city are our future. What are your ideas and plans to service the youth in the city?
Well, I've always impressed upon the commissioners that I have in any department, especially the youth department, that we need to keep up with the advancements at our youth department when it comes to the use of computers, educational skills, providing new programs. We served and practically serve almost every month about 875 youth in one way or another. We do provide a summer youth program where the Boys and Girls Club are closed in the summer. I'd like to see in the evenings the Boys and Girls Club open in the summertime, even though we provide the playground for that purpose. I'd like to look at the fact that we should continue our efforts and thank those entities such as TSL for what TSL does for the youth, and Operation Unite for what this organization does for the youth, and work together as a city with our youth department, make it as cost effective as we can while providing the best programs we can for our youth. Thank you.
The last question, and the big question. It seems like every interview has to have the question. Every election has to pose the question, and I'll pose it to you now. What makes you better suited to be the mayor of the city than your opponent?
Thank you, Greg. To the residents of the city of Hudson, my life has been spent in public service in one way or another. My public service record speaks for itself. My character speaks for itself. My integrity speaks for itself. I've worked hard for your interests over the last 2 years. My administration has worked just as hard and just as diligent to provide what the city of Hudson has now, which I believe it didn't have 2 years ago. It is an open, transparent government where people can see the mayor, talk to the mayor, provide what you provide to the city of Hudson in your daily lives as businessmen and women and residents of the city of Hudson. I believe I'm better served to be your mayor because I'm experienced not only on the county level as a county supervisor in county government, but as your mayor over the last 2 years. I would ask one question of the residents of the city of Hudson, and it's very simple. Do you think the city of Hudson is better now than it was 2 years ago? And do you want a William H. Hallenbeck Jr. administration running the city of Hudson as your mayor, or a Victor Mendolia administration running the city of Hudson as your mayor? And that is your choice. And I look forward to November 5th, and I thank you for allowing me to serve you over the last 2 years, and I look forward to serving you again in the future as your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
And to the viewers out there, I thank you for watching, for tuning in. Again, I'm Greg Mosley from Hudson Votes, and as I say now, I'll say always, it's critically important for you to get out and vote. Whether you vote Republican, Democrat, Independent, the point is you need to vote. If you don't vote this November 5th, you have no voice. So it is important, it's imperative that you get out and vote. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the show.